world famous Jane Velez-Mitchell is so kind to join us. And let me tell you a little bit. She is the founder, as you know, of Jane Unchained TV. It's the world's premier plant-based streaming TV network for animals, people, and the planet. And I haven't seen Jane since you were here in New York and I was on your show, but I think you are doing, as they say, God's work, and God is an animal as far as I'm concerned, right? Doing
All right. Interesting perspective.
Yes, yes.
Jane, how are you?
It's either a female or an animal. I hate to say that, Michael.
I'm doing great, Michael, Linda. It's so great to see you guys. I live south of the fires, so I wasn't affected, but I actually was affected by the smoke. The smoke was so intense that it affected people 20, 30 miles away. I was in the fire zone yesterday because Unchained TV is doing a special report, and it's an apocalyptic scene. I've covered fires for decades. I have never seen a fire like this. Malibu, the scenic, iconic stretch, it's a war zone. The Palisades, it looks like it was bombed out. It's unbelievable when you see the cars too, car after car after car. Just it's really it's surreal. You almost are shaking yourself saying, can this really be? But it is. And Pacific Palisades, oh my gosh, half of Hollywood at least lives there. People think, oh, you live in Brentwood or Beverly Hills, but really the writers and a lot of the people who are behind the scenes, the producers, they live in Palisades. So it's really a tremendous loss.
Yeah, I was trying to say, and the reason I started with David is, as you probably heard, is, I was like, are you okay, bud? Because, everyone thinks that because they read about these $100 million mansions or $25 million mansions, this affect regular working people. When David's a regular working guy, his wife is a teacher, he's got 2 kids, he's got all the animals you heard. I mean, this displaced everyone, all right? And he's lucky enough to have gotten some help from the Southern California Golden Retriever Rescue and from Pasadena Humane. But it's without these groups, it just... we ran at the beginning of the show, the clip of Oreo. Was it Oreo? Is his name?
Yes, my friend Jane Garrison rescued. She was one
who did that. Okay. Oh,
wow. Here's the thing. It was great, but for the one Oreo rescued, there's a lot of other animals up there. I saw traps that were left, and I don't know if somebody's going to check that trap to see if there's an animal that goes in there, because they keep blocking people from going in. My personal feeling is if you're a homeowner and you want to sign a waiver and say, I want to go in, they should let you in. Sure, you want to stop the looters, but let's face it, if you show a photo ID that says I live in the Palisades and that's the address and I'm going to sign a waiver that I take responsibility, I think they should let those people in, because a lot of those people are desperate to find their animals. But I would like to say something, if I may.
You can say anything you want. This is a
wake-up call. As you mentioned, I have Unchained TV, which is the world's premier plant-based streaming network. You can get it for free on your phone, 2,000 videos. It's also on the TV behind me. You can also watch it online at unchainedtv.com. And several years ago, I did a documentary called Countdown to Year Zero, which made the case that we only have a few years to transition to a more sustainable culture, or we are bye-bye. It was Sir David Attenborough who has said in a great documentary called Breaking Boundaries that we only have about 9 boundaries, and we're already breaking through about 6 of them. We're talking about things like melting glaciers, wildlife extinction. We are on track to completely wipe out all wildlife except animals in zoos, within a few years. And that's a World Wildlife Fund saying that. So this is really a wake-up call. We need to transition to more sustainable lifestyles. Now, currently, all anybody's talking about is fossil fuels. But the fact is, animal agriculture is at least a leading, and you can make a pretty strong case, the leading cause of climate change. Now, it's a very big issue, so it depends on when you started calculating it. Did you start 40 years ago or 5,000 years ago? But the truth is, if you want to boil it all down, we've given planet Earth a buzz cut to grow crops to either feed the 92 billion land animals we kill every year,
92 billion,
or to let them graze. If we reforested that land we could start immediately begin to absorb carbon because trees absorb carbon, and that would immediately begin to return the Earth's temperatures back to pre-industrial times. Nobody wants to talk about this. Why? Mainstream media, look at the TV commercials, fast food and pharmaceuticals. Of course, they're not going to talk about it. The government is actually fueling the climate crisis with its massive subsidies to animal agriculture. So we got to wake up. We can't pretend that the murder suspect who is sitting in the gallery laughing is not the real culprit while we put the getaway driver on trial for murder. This is what's happening right now.
You know, Jane,
hey, Jane, let me ask Jane a question, you know, because we kind of came up through true crime together. Where did this passion come from?
Oh, everybody says, I love your passion. And it's funny because it's like, I want to sit on a beach reading a trashy novel. I'm running this. Do not take a salary. This is a 501c3 nonprofit because I can't sit around enjoying my day knowing that we are unnecessarily destroying our planet. Okay. We only have a few years left to get real about the real causes of climate change. The COP conferences have achieved nothing, nada. They are a joke. Let's be real. Climate change is just getting worse, and they have conference after conference. Why? Because they're not addressing the real causes. I'm sure you've heard of the 80-20 rule. 20% of factors create 80% of the problems. That's animal agriculture. We could eliminate starvation, human starvation on this planet. Because people say to me, that's nice, Jane, but I care about people. Well, I care about people too. There are many, many people, a good percentage of the entire human race that is suffering from malnutrition and starvation right now. Why? Because we're feeding a lot. You could make the argument most of the food that we're growing to farmed animals, who are a very inefficient food source. 85% of all the soy produced is fed to farmed animals. People don't realize that. So we've got world hunger, we've got climate change, we've got wildlife extinction, all of these things. The wildfires are just an appetizer to what's to come. It's like that movie, Don't Look Up. And people say, well, you're so strident. It's like, well, somebody's house is on fire. Am I going to go in there and say, hey, tap you on the shoulder? Hey, that's a great program, but I have something to, no, you're going to say, get the hell out. This is what we're saying. It's a wake-up call.
It's interesting because that David Attenborough documentary, which was on Netflix, I don't know if you can still get it there. It opens up and you're like, whoa, right? And it tells you about this is the way it's going to be and this is going to look. It's almost like a Terminator beginning, right? And then by the Terminator tells you what we can do. And part of that, doing it is helping the animals. And that's part of it. So it's an interesting wake-up call. And these fires, a wake-up call. But in terms of the animals in these fires, what do you do with the fact that this could extinguish a lot of the I don't want to say wild, but animals that live in the wild out there in California? How does that work into it?
It's an excellent question. We're barreling toward complete wildlife extinction. We're killing wildlife at such an extraordinary rate. And these fires obviously exacerbate that. You've got owls, you've got deer, you've got coyotes. And yes, coyotes deserve to live too. It's their land. You've got possums and skunks and squirrels and all sorts of wildlife. And they're being killed. There is one video that was the most horrific video, I think, of this entire fire. And that was just a woman playing at night, the screaming wildlife. And I'm saying screaming. They were screaming in the dark because they're
dying. They're being burned.
They're burned and they're dying. And the thing is that people like to just focus on the narrow, what I call disaster pornography. That's what mainstream media engages in, disaster pornography. Even on CNN, some woman said, who was a victim at the end of the interview, wait a second, I got to say one more thing. We got to get our heads out of the sand. This is climate change. Thank you. Okay, next. They don't want to discuss it. People don't, because they think disaster porn equals ratings. And I'm not pointing out CNN. I love CNN. I work there. They're great people. It's all media, all media. There's a few independent media like The Guardian, which operates on a trust, so they don't have to worry about advertisers, Vox, The Intercept, and Unchained TV, which I urge you to download. It's absolutely free and nonprofit. But the point is that we're not the big voices. these big voices have to get real, because it doesn't matter how much money you're making. If you can't walk outside on the street without collapsing in the heat, which is already happening to delivery people in Arizona in the summertime, it's not going to be much of a world where you could spend much money on anything.
Are you aware of the going back to what David said, the two organizations, the Pasadena Humane? Because people start thinking, you start thinking small to get big. The Golden Retriever, the SCGRR, to help people when they say, okay, now this is where we can help with our animals, and then you can start thinking big. Are there programs to do that from these organizations?
Yes, we have the Plant-Based Treaty, and you can go to plantbasedtreaty.org and get involved. That is feeding people plant-based food. Somebody called me and they said, I want to help. I want to give dog food to the animals. I said, well, if it's dog food that contains cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, and lambs, you're contributing to the problem. Because animals in the United States, domesticated animals, would be the 5th largest meat-eating country in the world. I have 2 dogs. They're vegan. They're doing fine. I've been vegan 29 years. I'm doing fine. The biggest complaint that I get is, lower your voice, calm down.
Less veggies, Jane, less veggies.
Fewer veggies. Yeah. So
broccoli.
Yeah. So the point is that this is all unnecessary, but how do we wake people up? Like, okay, I'm 29 years sober. Okay. Hopefully in 2 months, I'll be 30 years sober. April 1st, April Fool's Day. Very appropriate day.
Congratulations.
And, I thought that alcohol was my solution. I found out, no, it was my problem. It's the same thing with the diet that we have today. We think that that's our solution. When these disasters happen, let's have a barbecue and barbecue some animals. No, that's the problem. It's not the solution. So somehow we're urging people to use this as a wake-up call. I know Linda's leaving. She's going to
no.
She's wrangling her dog.
Tubi doesn't want to help. He says,
Hold on a second. I'm going to get my
Okay, wait a second.
Come here.
I've lost control.
No, I'm coming
That
back.
assumes I had control at some point, which we know is not.
I'm coming back. Oh,
hey, there we go. Look at that little poo.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
That's Wednesday. I have 2.
Jane, what's the doggy's name?
Wednesday.
Let me guess. Is it a he or she? That's because I can go either
girl.
way. It's a girl. When did you get
Wednesday?
Wednesday?
On a Wednesday.
Was it? There you go. Okay.
And you see, David Tuchman, who started this, he rescued all his animals. I think you heard he rescued the turtle, he rescued the bunny, he rescued all his animals. And Donnie rescued Tubi. I'm afraid was not a rescue, but he rescued me.
There you go.
Aw. I love it. How about you, Michael? Where are your...
My dog has made the cameo appearance and left. Yeah, left. Yeah. It didn't have enough time for me, I guess.
Yeah, guys, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to make a case. It is like that movie, Don't Look Up. Did you ever see that one?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, one of my very good friends, Mark Rylance, is in it. Right?
It's so good because it totally captures that idea that people are like, "Why are you so strident?" Because this is not hypothetical or theoretical anymore. This is just the appetizer. It is going to get so much worse. I urge you to go on Unchained TV and watch Countdown to Year Zero, because basically it profiles a systems analyst who had worked with Al Gore and who tried to get Al Gore. He's a brilliant systems analyst, worked at Intel for decades, was very instrumental in accelerating internet speeds. And he saw an inconvenient truth. He said, I'm going to get involved. And then he did research because he's brilliant. And he realized we're not including animal agriculture in this equation. He talked to Al Gore. Al Gore didn't want to deal with it. Although I believe Al Gore is vegan now, but this was a while ago, but he didn't want to make that a part of his whole, we call it the really inconvenient truth. And so he split from Al Gore and started working on his own. And basically he's saying that what we really need to do is eat plants, plant trees. Okay. If we reforested the earth, we would solve the climate crisis. And, in fossil fuels, there are also cooling agents. So if you just attack fossil fuels, you're actually reducing the cooling agents that are in fossil fuels, and you're, to a certain degree, accelerating climate change. So we've really got to bring that into the equation. And there are cities like West Hollywood now that are embracing the plant-based treaty. So we're making strides, but I just really hope these fires, which are apocalyptic, are a wake-up call for people. I don't think they are, frankly. If the pandemic, which was a zoonotic disease, I don't care whether you think it started in the Wuhan lab where they were torturing animals, or you think it started in the Wuhan wet market where they were torturing and killing animals. It's a zoonotic. Now we have the bird flu coming down the pike. That's also a zoonotic. What's it going to take to wake people up?
So
Well,
you
let's
mentioned
hope-
you're
let's
getting
hope.
some traction, right? In some, I mean, overall, how's it going? I mean, are you making significant inroads? Is it just a constant battle? What?
Well, we're making significant inroads. If you think about it, veganism is, as a term, it was only in the Oxford Dictionary for the first time in 1962. And when I went vegan 29 years ago, people called it vagin, sounded a little X-rated, nobody had a clue. Now, of course, everybody knows it. And you have major stars like Billie Eilish who are vegan and all sorts of people. It's much bigger. The question is it growing at the rate it needs to grow? We are 8.1 billion humans. And it's really hard to convince these people. That's why anytime I have a chance to talk to, the general public, like with this wonderful platform, I do, because there's too many people to talk to them one-on-one. We are making headway. The dairy sector is our biggest, the non-dairy sector is our biggest win so far. You can see it when you go into the supermarkets. Non-dairy milks are taking more and more of the space.
Sure. The almond milks,
yeah, those are very successful, and we've managed to make everything you can try with a meat or dairy based, you can do plant based. So
yeah, I've always
vegan
wondered,
yogurt,
Jane,
vegan ice cream. Go ahead.
how do you milk an almond exactly? How does that? Uh-oh, hotline. The hotline's ringing.
Hotline, they're calling. Another
Okay.
person just went vegan. Go ahead.
I was just curious how you milk an almond. I wasn't sure how they got the almond milk. So I was just.
Oh,
Actually, there are these little devices you could buy if you want to do it yourself. Sounds like you're into it a little bit.
Okay, all right. I'm
but
gonna
you
check
can
it
It
out.
just came out. I just read an article that the best source of protein you can have is eating a bean. Beans.
Yeah.
The best source of protein. Anyhow,
when's the last time you went to a doctor and were told you had a protein allergy? It's a made-up problem.
Yep.
Anyhow, well, thank you very much. We're hoping again for the small, starting with my friend, as I said, who I saw. I said, "Can I help you in any way, buddy?" And the Southern California Golden Retriever Rescue Group came to his aid, and Pasadena Humane came to other people's aid, just to talk about families being together. And I know a lot of people that rescue animals are vegan. And even if you don't rescue animals, a lot of our friends are vegan. You go to restaurants here in New York, there's always vegan options now. When I was growing up, you didn't see that. You didn't see it.
No, it's much better. And I hope you guys just thank you for spreading the word. We've got to spread the word.
Thank you, Jane.